I think what we're gonna do is get this sill in place. I'm gonna run a bit of a bead roll down here. Yeah, I got a bead roller here, and I've set it up with these dies, a little bit of a gap. And I did a practice on a piece of 16 gauge, which makes me very happy. It's gonna do it. But this is enough that when you take and lay a piece of floor in, it's the same thickness as this rear sill, 16, it'll lay flat when I overlay it. So I'm gonna run this same bead into here. So when I weld the sill into the truck, the floor can sit flush on here because I'm planning on making 16 gauge floor. So for example, if I take a piece of 16 against this 16, we got a flush floor. And all you gotta do is fill it with seam sealer later, just to fill that gap. Very nice. And see the step in there? And my bead roller is not stock, it's a Princess Auto unit. And you can see I beefed it up in the back. Freightliner steering wheel for small increment adjustments. I've got a piece of I-beam here. Welded little pegs in to hold all my dies, and then I've got a semi-truck brake drum so it doesn't tip over. Alright, I am bead rolling the rear sill. We're putting the channel in. You probably can't see much of it from the camera, but let's get her done. And I think this piece of 16 gauge is a little much for this machine, but I have modified it so it can do heavier gauge. It needed modification right off the bat. It's a cheaper machine. It would flex on this plate here, so you can see I beefed it up there. So it seems to be holding up to it. The biggest thing is, I think the set screws on the dies like to come loose, and that's what I'm hoping doesn't happen now that I'm halfway through this piece here. And as you see me using the Freightliner semi-truck steering wheel to guide this, I picked this one because it's what the auto wrecker had that was big like this. You can do tiny increments. Normally you'd have two guys working this thing because the crank handle, you'll end up here and you can't run this steady. Here I can just do small increments. And originally I had a crank handle. Done. You see I struggled a little bit because I needed to catch it on this end, but I had no lighting. So I had to go find a light and get in the right spot. There's our bead roll right here. Not sure what you guys can see in that. You can see on the back side a little better. So basically I can overlap the piece like we showed earlier and plug weld it to this. So now I can weld this into the vehicle after I drill it full of holes, I guess. So this is the weld through coating that I'm using. It's a galvanizing type weld through. You can get like a copper as well. I like that this has got zinc in it, and it's probably welds better than the 3M stuff, but I'll kind of go through what we got to do with this. So it's the end of the evening for me. I've sprayed this on here. I've masked it off. That's the weld through coating. And then I have also done it in here. What I've added just to the back side, and then what I've added is holes. And I believe they were a 3/16 inch hole. Let's double check that. Sorry, they're a 5/16 inch hole. And we're going a little bit bigger on the other holes. They're a 3/8 for the 1/4 inch, or for the 14 gauge structure pieces, and this other one is for the 16 gauge. As you probably know, the name is deceiving. It's called weld through coating, but it doesn't actually weld through. It kind of melts and melts onto there wherever it's burned off in the backside, and you get a nice solid rust-proof zinc coating in between the layers. And what you want to do is scratch off in each one of these holes when it's mounted with a sharp tool and weld away. Do a little plug weld here. I think I start in the middle and I'll just buzz it around in a circle till it's fully welded. And the reason for starting in the middle means I'm starting on this panel, getting full penetration, and then you're buzzing the hole, and then you get the edges attached to it. And if you get it right, it lays flush, or fairly close, and there's minimal grinding. I do have a side note. I think Toyota's design here was a little bit poor, in the sense that we've got double layers all along. I almost left it as a single, but we're gonna build it as factory. The double layers allow a point for rust, so we're gonna have to put seam sealer in there to make sure it doesn't rust again. So that's why all of these things rusted out along the back, is because of that. So I'm hoping this weld through coating will help with that. Time will tell. I'll probably own it long enough to know how long that's gonna last. So now that panel is on here, you see the holes, and what I'll typically do is I take my little screwdriver and I just take and scratch out the weld through coating on there. And then when I start welding, I'm in the center, and I weld a circle like that. So it's just start the weld here, and then just run a circle all the way around. That's how I do those welds, and it works pretty well actually. And I got a clamp here. We're gonna get this thing welded down. I don't really have a clamp that'll do the top at this point, but I have some ideas for that. So we'll start by getting the front, and each time I clamp it, I'm gonna take the hammer, tap it down so that I know this edge is tight here. Alright, so you can see when I had the gun in there, first I scratched it off, and I did not remove this clamp until everything's cool. So I scratched it off like you saw, then I took the welder, I started in the middle, and it's a little hard to see because it's so bright, the camera has a hard time picking it up, but if you back it up and watch closely, you see me going in a circle. So in and then a circle around, and I just made the weld, you can touch it, and then you glue it cold. And once it's cool on both of these, clamp comes off. This tool is perfect for this. We're going to put it on this side this time. Keep the pressure in the middle here. Scratch it. I'm trying to get it right into the edge there. We might as well do both right away. The cleaner you get it, the better it's going to weld. You can hear it sputtering a bit. Sometimes if it goes a little bit past the edge of the circle, it hits that coating, and then that's when it starts sputtering like that. So you just got to back it up and then hit it again. So. Alright, so have a look here. You can see those were where it was sputtering, and I had to go back over it. But these guys here, they're fairly flat, will need minimal work. That's how you want these things to end up. So just to show you, I'm not perfect, but I got the idea of what it needs to happen, and that's what we're gonna do. And so I start center, right, left is what I'm gonna be doing for welding. And then we'll come back and we'll do the top after that. Well, Bob was over. He's made progress. He's got his rail rebuilt, guys. it looks awesome. He's started on the next one that's rusted away. That all we're keeping is probably the front clip on that car, and we'll swap it out. I think he might want to feature that at some point. But I got this in. It's welded. It's got to be ground down. I've left the welds here. I might take them smooth, but apparently that's factory to have them visible like that. I was having a little bit of grounding issues, so that looks a little bit more like a Toyota weld. So next step, I am going to be removing all this floor for where the new parts are going to come, but trying to keep it intact so I can build my hammer forming bucks. All right, this bed floor is shot, but I got to keep it to make patterns. So out it comes. There's mostly copper to get in, like tape or thin.